Hello and welcome to another week. This week we're going to use what we understand and learned last week about epic narratives and actually look at a particular epic narrative, in this case the Iliad by Homer. We'll be able to relate what we learned about characteristics of an epic narrative and conventions of those pieces of literature with an actual piece. So let's get started by going back over just part of the conventions that we learned about. First of all, an epic narrative is going to include a hero of great importance to many. It is going to include a large-scale setting, often with travel to faraway places. And we know that the story is going to begin in medias res, which means in the middle. We know that the hero is going to possess many supernatural powers, or some supernatural powers. We also need to understand there will be lowercase gods involved in these stories, and we need to know that these gods are going to be supernatural, so they're going to also possess these powers, but we also need to understand that they are going to be highly flawed individuals. They are going to be petty and struggle with other human-like characteristics that make them very unlike the true God, who is perfect. So one more convention that I would like to mention, and that is the language. Remember that epic is big. Epic is amazing. That's kind of what that word means anyway. You might say that you plan to have an epic wedding someday, and it's just going to be beautiful and include all of the elements that make the perfect day. But that is the case of the language in an epic. It matches up with the heroes, with their supernatural powers and the huge settings and all of the other attributes that go along with an epic narrative. Now, why would anyone want to read a story, a narrative that's written like a poem and set back hundreds of years? You're going to find that the setting is 1250 BC for this particular story. Why would anybody want to read something so aged? Well, it's because that the theme in the epic narrative, especially the one that we're addressing today and others like it, is universal. The lessons are universal. And so readers always like a good story that the reader can relate with. The characters maybe, or the plot, the theme, something about the story is relatable to the readers. Those are the kinds of stories that transcend the ages and can be enjoyed over time, instead of sort of stuck in with an audience that relates for a while and then future audiences can't relate. So that is the case of this particular piece. The themes will be relatable. They're universal. Okay, so let's get into the Iliad. First of all, this was written by Homer, and we don't know much about him. If you go to the end of the piece, you can read just a little bit about him. We don't even know if his name is Homer. So we're not going to spend very much time on the author. We'll spend more time on the narrator of the piece in days to come. But I do want to talk to you about the setting. It's very important that you understand the setting. And so this piece is set in ancient Greece. Most likely, Homer wrote this in the 8th century BC. And so let's think, though, I'm going to give you a little more information. I already referenced 1250 BC. I need you to know that this is truly ancient Greece. This is long before the empires and even the city-states that Greece is known for had reached any kind of notable power. So here is a map. What we do know is that the Trojan War, that's part of the setting, is historically accurate. In fact, of recent, archaeologists have found more evidence of that war having existed in that area. And so specifically, the area that we're looking at would be Greece, what's now known as Greece, the western shore of the Aegean Sea, and then over across the sea to Troy, the city of Troy, which is located on the eastern shores of Asia Minor. And so if you were to fill out a soapstone for this occasion, the occasion section of a soapstone, you would want to put these elements. This took place in ancient Greece, before city-states had reached their well-known power, during the Trojan War, when the Greeks attacked the city of Troy in Asia Minor. You would want to note that Homer wrote this poem in 800 BC, excuse me, not 80, 800 BC, but the action takes place much earlier in 1250 BC. So here is your task for today. After you listen to this video and understand that initial information, I need you please to just read the introduction to the epic. You can find this on page 144 and 145 in your books. It is an essay to introduce this epic. What you need to be paying attention to specifically is paragraphs 2 and 3. And in those paragraphs, you will be exposed to the overall plot. That's going to be very important to you before you actually delve into the work. In the 5th paragraph, you will see valuable information about the themes. I still want you to read the whole entire essay because you're going to need that to get the gist of those components. But I want you to take notes on the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th paragraph information that will help you moving forward. I am not going to take time right now to talk about plots. I feel like when I look at the learning that spans education from kindergarten all the way through till where you are now, whether you're in the 10th or the 12th grade, that most students have learned about the plot diagram, the exposition, the rising action, what a climax is, falling action, and the resolution. Most students have that. You might want to add those components to your notebook that you are compiling of literary devices and literary elements, but I'm not going to take any further time to discuss it. If you need more information on that, please reach out to me. Now you have this slide that you can look at and just kind of read it yourself. But if you need any more information, let me know. But I am operating under the impression that students your age wouldn't need a whole lesson on a plot diagram. All right, so please, I just want to encourage you one more time to definitely take advantage of the time that you have left today after this 8-minute video and actually do this piece so that when we come back tomorrow, we can talk about the next part of the text and we can be introduced a little more carefully to the characters and we can move on and you won't be overwhelmed. I think you'll really enjoy this epic. I look forward to learning about it with you and going through it with you. And thank you so much for your kind attention. I hope you and your family are well. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.